Suddenly I heard a knock on the door.
Hi.
The door opened, revealing Nanako.
こんばんは。
あ、沢城さんか。
I'd figured it wasn't you, since she would have asked to come in first, but it was still surprised to see Nanako nonetheless.
少しよろしいですか？
ええ、まあ。
I dragged my futon to the edge of the room and beckoned her over to the seat cushions.
上園さんのこと、あまりお話ししていないと思いまして。
何かあるんですか？
I poured hot water from the kettle above the brazier into a small teapot.
私が入れます。
Nanako picked up the pot and poured it into a teacup.
どうぞ。
She then handed it off to me.
以前、上園さんにお見合いの話を持っていったことがあるんです。
Oh, yep. My hand froze before the teacup even reached my lips.
それはひながみあやととの見合いですか？
ええ、詳細を伝える前に断られてしまったのですが。
それはいつの話ですか？
私が最初にあやとくんを見つけたのは以前言いましたよね。それをしずるさんに伝えて、それからしばらく経ってからです。
上園さんが選ばれた理由をご存知ですか？
いえ、そこまでは聞いていません。
Nanako shook her head.
上園さんのことをしずるさんに伝えていましたか？
いいえ、だから余計に驚きました。
The more I heard, the clearer it was that I definitely need to talk to Shizuru Hinagami. This was big news. That meant two of the victims had been Masaki's prospective brides.
前にも一度お尋ねしたと思いますが、糸瀬瑞希という方に心当たりはないんですね。
ええ、聞いたことはありません。
しずるさんからも。
ええ。
And she was still the odd woman out.
上園さんが亡くなっても、高宮さんがすぐ候補として出てきた。
I don't know, probably Nanako. If I knew that, then there was a chance I could prevent a murder.
ごめんなさい。それは聞かされていません。
聞かされていないということは。
おそらくは。ですが、あやとくんが私の存在を知った以上、
So they stopped using her to handle the marriage negotiations, huh?
それにしずるさんたちも、あやとくんの婚約者が殺されているという事実には。
No surprise there. That meant they'd probably realize it'd be prudent to keep that information on the hush so as to prevent future murders. And I even knew why the killer was only going after these women, though. Could it be the body double? The body double who was so jealous that Ayako, this name that was carved into the chest, who I believe to be the body double, so the original Satsuki anyway. Is it possible that this is the original Satsuki? Very jealous that Ayako had been able to, you know, have that moment with Ayato. And now she, like, seeks her vengeance on those who try to get too close to him. But even in that case, Mizuki Itose is still the odd one out. However, we know that Mizuki Itose is connected to the Blessed Congregation. And thus, we know that the original Satsuki would have some connection to the Shigisa Shrine as well. So maybe there's a connection there to be had. If it's the body double that's carrying out these murders. Well, not the body double is dead. The original Satsuki. Wait, could that mean that Mizuki Itose was another one of the candidates? Wouldn't make sense. Because as far as we know, she was poor, right? But maybe that was how they were negotiating. Because we did know that her father worked for, where's her fucking name at? We do know that her father worked for Hinagami Pharmaceuticals at some point. Was employed, yet seemed to have some source of income. Member of the Blessed Congregation, possibly killed by Lord Hina. At some point, they mentioned her father. Yeah, nothing fucking lines up. Holy hello. Right. connected via the organization. Oh, I can't like click and drag around. Unfortunate. Oh, we actually get a brief little look at what Shizuru looks like now. I just realized we can see that through this little preview here. We get a little preview of what it looks like now, and yeah, looks like the years have fucking hit him hard. I swear at some point they mentioned that Itose's dad worked for Hinagami Pharmaceuticals. And I feel like there's a connection there to be made. That potentially that, Mr. Hinagami himself saw this dude and was just like, hey, how about your daughter marries my son? It could get you up very higher in life. You could provide a much nicer life for your daughter. I could see that being a fucking possibility. Though I was starting to see a pattern, I also couldn't rule out the possibility that there were more criteria to the victims than just that.
そろそろおいとましますね。
Nanako got up. I checked the clock and realized it was already past midnight.
また何かあったらよろしくお願いします。
それではおやすみなさい。
Nanako left the room. Put my futon back in place and crawled into it when she left. Now that I'd gotten my hands on some new info, I wanted to return to Tokyo as soon as possible. So I'll leave tomorrow unless something comes up then. Oh, something's gonna come up. Oh, red? Oh, red? Oh, red? Oh, red? Fuck. Alright. The snow intensified with the wind past midnight, creating a blizzard so strong that it erased footprints mere seconds after they were made. Perfect. Couldn't ask for better circumstances. The cloak would have been spotted fairly quickly were it a clear night, but in this weather, it was all but invisible. In fact, the cloak stood in the direction of the wind, so anyone traveling that way would have to lower their head, leaving them essentially blind to their surroundings. Much like one Yuka Kirimura at that moment. Ooh. Ooh. Wait, no, is Yuka about to be the victim? She carefully ascended the snowy staircase one step at a time. The very fact that she didn't trip in the slightest marked her as a true Hitogatan. Yuka cleared the stairs and continued onward, leaving footprints behind in virgin snow. She didn't notice anyone around her. God damn it, Yuka is the next victim. Fuck! I'm sitting there thinking like, oh, Yuka's involved in this mischief, huh? It would make sense how loyal she is to the Hinagamis. No. Man, Yuka's always been so sweet. Damn it. Least of all, a hand clutching a syringe. Yeah, it's probably Nanako. That's the thing. Our choices come down to Nanako or Karen, and guess which two are in the fucking village right now? Yuka made her way to the Forbidden Wayside Shrine in Kakarahina. However, I started darting around her surroundings. I was finally developing scruples about what she was doing. It's time. Presence glided toward Yuka and plunged a needle into her neck. Yuka turned around, but it was too late. The succinylmethonium was already flowing through her veins. A gloved hand covered her mouth in the short time it took for the drug to kick in. Yuka tried to struggle, but no one could have possibly seen or heard her out in this spot during a blizzard. Isn't that something we saw a scene of before, though? With the Oracle and whatnot? That, like, this woman is given an invitation to this wayside shrine, and that's where they get picked off. Even so, that was by no means an excuse to invite overconfidence. Yuka's tears seeped into the glove. However, it wasn't long before they became one with the blizzard. And shortly thereafter, her body went slack. Cloaked arms carried the petite woman into the cave. This was a sanctuary where they'd never be interrupted, barring the unexpected, of course. Such an apt workspace. Yuka's body was laid in a spot where she'd be safe from the blizzard. Even if the muscle relaxing wore off, she'd still freeze to death for sure if left on her own. But that would have rendered all pointless. Yuka's sash was untied, her kimono parted open shortly thereafter. A rusty hatchet procured from a ruined house was drawn. Procured from a ruined house. It's fucking Nanako. It's fucking Nanako. A rusty hatchet procured from a ruined house. Nanako went and got the fucking hatchet. Okay, I'm curious then. I'm curious. What happens if I go back to when we were doing all the deduction work, right? What happens if I choose Nanako? Does he say the same thing? Seemed as good a guess as any. Yeah, okay, it's the same exact thing. Okay. I just wanted to check to see. But that gives it away right there. A rusty hatchet procured from a ruined house. Because we heard from Nanako that she went to go visit her old house and it had been completely demolished. Nanako. Okay. At least in this instance. Nanako does have the alibi. We gotta remember that. Nanako has the alibi. But this is 100% Nanako. The hand clutched firmly around its handle, hoisted the weapon up, and swung it down onto Yuka's abdomen with the swiftness of a veteran butcher. The hatchet cleaved through her like butter, only stopping after reaching her spine. My hands are getting cold. I need to finish this fast. The hatchet was swung left and right like a pendulum, widening the wound. Stop! Blood and steam emerged from Yuka. A foul stench filled the cave. That complete, the clay doll was brought out. Hands then sank into the abdomen. Yuka's lingering heat serving to warm their fingers like a campfire on this cold winter's night. However, that didn't change how difficult it was to move said fingers, making the following tasks difficult. Regardless, the wound was successfully stitched up and a rope was tied around Yuka's body before dragging her away. Yuka's corpse was brought back to the shrine archway, her blood trail atop the snow erased along the way. It was subsequently hung there. Yuka's upper half pitched forward, loosening the wound on her abdomen. Gloved hands seized her shoulders and corrected her posture, creating clear proof that she'd been killed by the curse of Lord Hina. The blizzard grew stronger still. Feet shielded by boots lightly brushed snow over the nearby blood splatter and drag marks to hide them, taking care not to leave behind any conspicuous footprints as they left the scene. Nah, that one was 110% Nanako. 110%. Absolutely no question. Yeah, and of course that Reiji was like, yeah, I think I'll leave tomorrow night as long as nothing unexpected happens. Masuki awoke to find the house in complete pandemonium. Too cold to get out of his futon, he tried to comprehend what was happening as his mind struggled to wrench itself free from the shackles of slumber. I think someone just got here. It sounded like his grandmother was the one who'd answered the door, while the one running through the hallway seemed to be Karen.
Nisama!
And then, almost as if on cue, Karen flung the door open and rushed inside. Masuki finally got out of his futon.
それがゆかさんが
Masuki's jaw dropped once he surmised where this was going.
その神社でまさか
Why?
今おばあ様が確認に行って
Masuki's mind was reeling. How was Miss Kirimura murdered? What did she do? Did she see or hear something she shouldn't have? Oh, did she? Was she being lined up as the next candidate? Oh. 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 Oh, fuck. No, this song fucks. Let's go. Man, I love it when these murder mysteries have these fucking just banging songs that start playing after someone dies. Shit rules, man. How do you expect me to stay serious during all this shit when that shit's playing? Come on. You wrecked his brain, but nothing about her attitude the night before suggested anything unusual. And perhaps because he'd been fast asleep, he hadn't heard any unusual sounds after going to bed either.
Nii-sama!
Karen's voice brought Masaki back to reality.
それで、警察の方がお見えになってます。
俺に?
Is it Tokisaka? Perhaps you had shared with Karen her initial misconception that Eiji was with the police, resulting in this misunderstanding.
着替えてから行くよ。
It's not, though.
わかりました。
Karen left the room. Hey, why does everyone around me keep dying? Am I supposed to be some kind of grim reaper who brings death everywhere he goes? Damn it. I knew I should have killed myself when I had the chance. No, stop it. Getting down the dumps won't help anything. That wasn't to say you could just cheer up at a moment's notice, though. Masaki entered the living room to find someone other than Reiji waiting for him. Inui?
久しぶりだな、坊主。
乾さんでしたね。現場はいいんですか？
君が心配することではない。
Masaki sat directly across from Inui on the other side of the hearth.
何が起こったかは把握しているかね？
ゆかさんが神社で殺されたとしか聞いていません。
殺され方については。
Masaki shook his head.
そうか。
Inui nodded but didn't clarify further. Is he hiding the facts from me? Yes.
東京で起こった高宮巡殺害と同じ手口のようだ。
Before Masaki could brace himself and ask for more details, Inui beat him to the punch. Sadly, the truth was exactly as he'd feared.
昨晩、君はどうしていたかね
？0時頃には眠りました。
He suspects me. Of course he does. Anyone would suspect the person who just came from the scene of the last murder.
それを証明できる人は
Inui's cross-examination was perfectly by the book. Masaki had developed somewhat of a resistance to such tactics, though, thanks to all the times that obnoxious police superintendent had put him through them back in Tokyo.
身内の証明は意味がないのでしょう。
被害者が家を出て行ったのを知っているかね
Inui ignored Masaki's question and asked another of his own.
気づきませんでした。
被害者を最後に見たのは
Inui droned on and on with his questions. Masaki answered them all to the best of his ability. He had no reason to lie. Though someone who'd been like family to him had died, his heart was like stone, oddly enough.
随分と君は冷静なようだ
And as expected, Inui picked up on that.
何をおっしゃりたいのですか？
高宮巡が殺された際君は被疑者として一時拘束されたそうだね
Inui sized Masaki up with his serpentine eyes.
自分を疑っているとはっ。
我々が疑いを向けるのは関係者全員だよ
Way to be as roundabout as possible. Despite his claims to the contrary, it was clear Inui had his sights set on Masaki and Masaki alone.
現場を見せてくれませんか？
それはできないまだ捜査班が到着していないのでね
ならば一刻も早く現状に戻るべきだ。集落の人間である高山巡査一人ではここの権力には逆らえないでしょうよ。
Reiji! A deep voice boomed through the living room, filling Masaki's heart with hope. Yeah! Reiji! I fought back the urge to sigh as I stared at the two men sitting around the hearth.
時坂さん。
Masaki's dopey face lit up with hope as soon as he saw me.
そこのいくら問い詰めても無駄ですよ。すべての事件はそいつの周りで勝手に起こっているだけですからね。
時坂君と言ったね。
あなたに名乗った覚えはありませんよ。
It deliberately provoked Inui.
彼が犯人ではないという証拠はあるのかね。
Yet his tone remained as dry as ever.
もちろんありませんよ。しかし彼が犯人だと示す証拠もないでしょう。
Nanako Shiro told me about the murder this morning, so I hurried over to the crime scene ASAP, but Officer Takayama had sealed off the path and wouldn't let me through. Since so many people had stopped to see what was going on, it had been impossible to find the victim and culprit's footprints amidst the fresh snow. I wanted to go to the shrine as well, but the only way up was blocked, foiling my plan. And as such, I came here and found exactly what I'd expected to see.
現場に入る許可をいただけます。
一般人を入れるわけにはいかない。
Yeah, can't say I didn't see that coming.
もちろん県警の捜査班が到着するまでです。 遺体や証拠品には一切触れません。
Of course, if I did screw something up, Yaginuma would probably blow a fuse and order me shot on sight.
中央に貸しも借りも作るつもりはない。
Man, you really would find this guy's picture if you looked up stubborn in the dictionary, wouldn't you?
借りはともかく貸しを作っておくに越したことはないと思いますがね。
もともと出し渋っていたことを恩着せがましく言ったところで何も変わらぬよ。
So he figured out the MPD was being tight-fisted with their information, did he? I wanted to believe that he didn't know what we did, but we'd have no room to make a deal with him otherwise.
聞かせてもらえるかな。
Though quiet, his menacing aura left no ground to deny.
現状を見せてくれるのでしたら、そいつの分は。
Ultimately, I caved first. There was only a little. I was treading dangerous water here and knew it.
こちらの邪魔をしなければ構わないだろう。
Sure, knock yourself out.
時坂さん
Muskie lost his head and dogged me when his slow brain finally caught up to what was happening.
拘束するのにも人手が足りないでしょうし、しばらく外出させないという形で手を打ちませんかね。
うん。まあいいだろう。
Inui nodded.
聞いての通りだ。お前はしばらく謹慎していろ。
逃げはしませんけど。
Muskie's eyes were demanding an explanation. Much as I wanted to have him give me a hand with the investigation, couldn't very well do that with Inui hounding us.
ひながみカレンさんがまだ家にいたね。彼女に見張ってもらいましょう。
ふもとから応援が来たら交代させる。
Inui rose to his feet.
現場へ向かう。そちらの情報は道すがら聞かせてもらおう。
そうですね。
And so I decided to leave Muskie behind and get a move on.
連続殺人。
Inui reacted exactly as I expected once I filled him in on what he'd been kept in the dark about, specifically Mayu Kamizono and Misuki Itose's murders.
高宮めぐりさんだけはこちらの出身でしたからお伝えしたまでですよ。
It was the least I could have Yaginuma do.
ひな神の小僧は潔白だと証明されたのか。
自分はそう思いますね。先ほども言った通り、奴の周りで事件が勝手に起こっているだ。
関係者であることは間違いなかろう。
だから監視も兼ねて連れてきているんですよ。
It was only natural that he was the prime suspect after all
あ
this.
なたこそ彼が本当に犯人だとは思っていないのでしょう。
なぜそう思うのかね。
あなたが追っているのは事件ではない。この集落でずっと続いている慣習だからです。
慣習だからこそ彼も被疑者に入るのだよ。
He was not denying it.
ひな神と仕草がたたりを起こしているかも。
Inui stopped in his tracks.
その証拠はない。
土地の権力者ですから隠蔽するのも簡単でしょう。裏切る者が出ればたたりと称して
余計なことは言わない方がいい。権力とたたりが支配している土地では誰が聞いているとも限らん。
It appeared that was his idea of a warning.
それで今回の被疑者
I asked him in hushed tones even though no one was around.
中ではなかった。腹に押し込んでいた形跡はあったが。
The victims in Tokyo had been stitched up. That mean the killer had gotten sloppy this time?
第一発
神社のネギ、いや先代が亡くなったから今は宮司か。仕草健生という男だ。
It sounded like he didn't really believe that.
ここでの話は以上だ。
Inui stopped himself there and pointed ahead. A crowd had gathered in front of the shrine archway. They appeared to be concerned villagers who'd heard the ruckus. Fortunately, Yuzuru Kuroya was there to keep them from going up to the shrine.
だからわしらに何が起こったんか教えてくれっちゅうとろうが。後でひな神か仕草の方から発表がありますから。
Despite their heated questions, the mob was surprisingly docile. Probably had the influence of the building up the steps. Shigusa's shrine, thank.
乾さん、どうにかしてくれませんか。
Yuzuru hailed Inui once he saw him.
県警の応援が到着するまでそうしていただければありがたいですな。
刑事さんよ。
Saizo, who was standing at the front of the mob, changed his target to Inui.
後々説明しますよ。
Inui simply climbed up the stairs, clearly in no mood to elaborate. I reluctantly chose to follow him. Eventually, we reached the apex of the stairs.
あ、乾警部。
Takayama had refused to budge an inch when I'd stopped by a short while earlier. Yet here he cleared the path for Inui as soon as he saw him. Yes, that's only natural. A woman was kneeling under the shrine archway up ahead. It was Yuka Kiramura, maid to the Hinagami family. The way her arms were tied with ropes to the archway and how she pitched slightly forward were reminiscent of the victims in Tokyo. I crouched down and offered a prayer.
遺体に触れない範囲で調べさせていただきます。
遺体の周囲もできる限り近づかないでくれたまえ。足跡が残ってしまう。
I didn't exactly give much to work with, but I'd have to make do. I got up and regarded the crime scene as I began my investigation. Well, obviously, first and foremost, the abdomen cut there. Kirimura's kimono was spread apart, her abdomen painted with blood. But while it was hard to make out the wound through all the blood and snow, said abdomen wasn't abnormally swollen. I studied the wound in question and noticed that there was still sewing thread left. There were no signs it had been cut by forensics, though. Rather, it appeared the skin had burst apart, leaving only the thread. Is there no clay doll because forensics already removed it? Blood had pooled between the victim's legs, and probably dripped out from the gaping wound to her abdomen. However, there was a relatively little blood for such a large incision. I looked over Yuka Kirimura's body. We'd only spoken a handful of times. Thus cruel as it was, I saw as nothing more than a barely familiar face. Though I was sure the villagers, Masaki included, felt differently. Anyway, let's see what I can find here. I studied her neck, but there were no bruises or rope burns to suggest she'd been strangled. Her head displayed no traces of contusions either. I wanted to test the possibility that she'd been drugged, but it was impossible to glean anything from her complexion thanks to the body's prolonged exposure to the bitter cold. That was about the best examination I could manage without a coroner or forensics officer around. Wrists. Ropes were tied to her wrists, each secured around opposite sides of the archway. Though currently frozen solid, it was clear they hadn't been used to restrain her from the kill. No, they were there solely to set up that gruesome display. This parody of a crucifixion that was left here for all to see. Let's see. Anything in the background we can click on? There were several footprints around the body. They appeared relatively recent though, so they were probably Kensei's from when he found the body. I couldn't tell if any of those footprints had been left at the time of the crime. However, I could make out a faint red trail upon closer inspection. The killer probably tried to hide the blood-stained snow after the murder, but it seemed they hadn't been as thorough as they'd hoped. Does that mean she was murdered somewhere else, then dragged over here? Yes. Body was clad in a kimono. However, the sash had been untied, exposing her bare skin. The killer probably did that to cut her open. Anything else? Yep, kimono. Gash. So is this a fake out then? Because yeah, they said there was no clay doll found. And it doesn't, from what I remember of the scene, I don't think she ever actually put, well yeah she did. She definitely put the clay doll in there. So Kensei must have taken it then. I think that's about all I'm gonna find here. Satsuki's might have been staged similar to hers all those years ago from what I've been told, you know? I believe that's all I can click on. Yeah. That was about all I could do with no coroner, no permission to approach the body. I offered the body another silent prayer before rising to my feet.
殺害現場はおそらくこの奥にある洞窟だろう。
It sounded like the killer had been trying to avoid any prying eyes. However, we had far bigger issue at the moment.
ありません。
何がかね。
土人形ですよ。先ほどの話では外に出ていたとのことです。
I'd scanned the whole area around the body. While there had indeed faint bloodstains along with indications of disrupted snow, the aforementioned clay doll had been nowhere in sight.
バカな。そこにあったはずだ。
You know, he pointed to a spot in the snow, but all I saw were spatters of blood and small chunks of clay.
北前、高山巡査。
Anyway, summoned Takayama.
はい、何でしょうか。
ここにあった証拠品はどこへやった。
は？知りませんが。
Takayama's jaw was slack in bewilderment.
失礼。誰かが遺体に近づいたりと言ったか。
I couldn't ask both of them that question.
発見者の仕草健生がいて、遺体の面通しのために雛神マリコを呼び、
警部が現場を離れられてからは誰も遺体に近づけないようにしていましたが。
Takayama gasped.
誰が来たのですか。
Takayama glanced over at the shrine. Was it one of the Shigasas or?
つい先ほどもう一度来られて神社に行くとおっしゃってましたのでお通ししたのですが。
マリコさんですか？
Takayama feebly nodded. It is perfectly plausible to assume she'd taken the clay doll. And if her goal had been to hide the evidence, then
見てきます。
kicked off the snow. My mad dash took me through the shrine archway up the pitifully shoveled road and onto the shrine grounds. Never met Mariko Hinagami. All I knew was that she had to be fairly old to be Masaki's grandmother, so I just looked for someone of that age range.
いたかね。
Inoue had arrived, hot on my heels. He wasn't even panting, likely a testament to his position as an active cop.
この方ですかね。
They indicated a woman who'd emerged from behind the shrine.
そうだな。
Inoue dashed her way. I followed. God, I fucking love this part. I followed, grimacing at the sensation of snow melting into my shoes.
ひながみさん。
Inoue wasted no time addressing Mariko as soon as he reached her.
なんでしょう。
Mariko turned around. She wasn't holding anything. However,
土いじりをなさったのですか？
their fingertips were laced with faint brown discoloration.
何のことでしょう。
Mariko wiped her fingers on the hem of her kimono,
失礼。
passed her by and checked behind the shrine. There I found signs that someone had stomped all over the ground, along with clumps of dirt scattered atop the snow.
壊したのか。
何をですか。
Does she seriously think we'll buy that?
この雪を踏み固めた足跡。
I dug through the snow with my numbing fingers as I said that.
証拠隠滅罪に当たりますぞ。
Inoue grabbed Mariko's arm.
たたりな
Mariko's tone was flat yet decisive.
どニコはおらぬのです。たたりが起こるはずはありません。
The oracle's not present. That was the first time I'd heard that stated so definitively by someone clearly in the know. Though honestly, denying the curse was as good as confirming there had indeed been a clay doll. Scooped up some of the left of the broken dirt up into my handkerchief. It felt like clay, probably because of the snow it absorbed. However, collecting every last piece didn't seem feasible.
ひながみさん。あなたはお帰りください。
Inoue shooed Mariko
いい
away.
んですか？
逃亡の恐れはない。現状を乱されることの方が厄介だ。
I mean, yeah, she doesn't seem the type to flee the settlement, but still.
ミコがいないからたたりが起こるはずがない。
建前に過ぎんよ。それよりも
Inoue pointed at my
この
handkerchief.
辺りに散らばっている土が
重要な証拠品だ。
So he saw right through me, huh?
一部で構いませんよ。警察庁の科学捜査研究所に鑑定を依頼し、
こちらにも鑑識はある。
結果が出る頃には東京に戻っているでしょうからね。
He couldn't afford to
ところ
yield.
で、土人形の写真は撮影しましたか？
I split the dirt I'd collected between us as I asked that question.
初動で高山巡査が現状の撮影を行っている。
It felt like we'd built a weak yet stable trust with one another, or at least that's what I hoped.
では土の一部は東京で分析させていた。
うん。
Though I had to get a little pushy, I'd successfully won Inoue
で
over.
は、現状に戻りましょうか。
Now that things were looking up for me, I kept striking first over and over so Inoue didn't have a chance to take the reins again. Okay, back to work. The path to the shrine was the only way back to the settlement. Thus Inoue and I marched down it together.
乾警部、県警の方々はいつ頃到着するのですか？
Takayama ran over to Inoue as soon as he saw us.
早くても夕方だろう。もう少しここで張っていたまえ。
はあ。
Sound less like compliance, more like resignation.
しかしですね、遺体を放置していては司法解剖の時にも支障が出るのでは。
今日の冷え込みでは腐敗もさほど進まぬだろうから心配いらんよ。
黒谷委員の医者に検視を頼まないのですか？
Surely there had to be a good reason he hadn't resorted to such an obvious solution.
彼らは専門家ではない。それに信用もおけん。
I wonder if he would have felt differently had Yuzuru not originally been a Hinagami.
仕草さやが死んだ際も通報もなくダビに付されたからな。
事件性がなかったからでは？
I played dumb even though I already knew the whole story.
その前に失踪したあの坊主が何か知っていると踏んでいる。
Now, why would he tell me that? What's he playing at? Is it a feint?
では行きましょうか。乾さんもひながみマリコに事情を聞きに行くのでしょう。
I still had control of the situation for the time being. I just hoped it stayed that way for a little longer. We arrived at the Hinagami estate. The woman who'd been there until yesterday was gone.
失礼。
We entered the estate first. Karen Hinagami was in the living room when we stepped inside.
おばあさんは在宅かな？
ええ、祖父の部屋におりますが。
案内してくれ。
どうぞ。
Karen got up and led Inui further in. Not sure I'm gonna get a better chance than this. I looked around the living room now that I'd been left unsupervised. However, I couldn't find that family altar Masuki had mentioned.
何してるんですか、時坂さん。
Masuki entered the living room while I was searching the house.
まさか泥棒の真似事ってわけ。
ちょうどよかった。神棚はどこだ？
I immediately determined to be quicker to ask him.
上座の奥にある両開きの押し入れの中ですが、まさか時坂さん。
そのまさかだよ。
Oh, you bet I am. I didn't have much time. As such, I quickly approached the closet and opened it. An altar modeled off a miniature shrine, a bit too big for a family altar, honestly, rested within it. Past its lattice door was a box resembling a cabinet.
この中だな。
だと思いますけど。
Masuki gulped. I opened the altar doors and proceeded to open the box. A dark lump lay within.
これが。
まさき、カメラ。
いえ、ありませんが。
I had some film on me, but it wouldn't exactly be much help on its own. So unfortunately, the most I could do was etch its appearance into my
お
memories.
前がしっかり見ておけよ。
はい。
I should probably ask him to try drawing it from memory later. With that settled, I reached out and touched what appeared to be Lord Hina's leg. A piece of it broke off.
時坂。
心配するな。
I said that at the absolute perfect time to panic and collected the broken dirt. Afterward, I removed all the smokes from my cigarette carton before dumping the dirt into it. Once finished, I closed all the doors and acted like nothing had happened when Ken Inui finally returned.
坊主にも話が聞きたい。
なんでしょうか。
Shit. I've been so focused on finding this Lord Hina that I'd totally forgotten to warn Masaki. All I could do was hope he didn't say anything stupid.
今日のことについては先ほど聞いたから、君が失踪した時のことを聞こうか。
嫌になったんですよ。
Masaki gave a fairly safe answer.
ほう、嫌になるようなことがあったのか。
まあ、そうですね。
兄様。
I held my hand out to stop Karen before she could interrupt. Couldn't afford to have her complicating matters. Praying Masaki would get through this incident was about all I could do.
なぜ後を継ぎたくないのかね。ひながみ製薬は大企業だ。
そういうのが嫌なんです。
それだけかね。例えばひながみ家の飲酒が嫌で逃げた。
And there it was.
自分は早くに戦争に行ったので、家のしきたりやそういったものは聞かされていないんですよ。
それもそうか。
It seemed he successfully navigated that minefield. Still, it was far too early to celebrate.
では他に理由がありそうだ。
まさか自分はさやさんが亡くなったこともずっと後に知りましたから。
Not only did he lie, but he also ran his mouth a little too much. An experienced police inspector would notice and follow right up on that.
いつ知ったのかね。
Just as I'd feared, Inui caught Masaki by the tail.
先週です。向こうで。
It seemed he remembered talking to Nanako about it, fortunately. However, now Inui was marking him nervous.
しかし私はそこの彼、時坂君から興味深いことを聞いたのだが。
待ってください。
Good, my name was brought
自分はあなたに何一つ彼の過去に関する情報を提供。
分かっているのならば黙っているべきだったな。
Inui kept his eyes trained on Masaki's face the whole time we spoke. Probably seen all the anxiety and relief that flashed by on his praised face from start to finish.
まあ、今は関係のないことだ。
Inui looked away from Masaki. Sheesh, this guy's shrewd. Can't even get a read on him.
兄様。
Karen nestled up to
ひながみ
Masaki.
マリコさんは
Turned to Inui.
何も新しい情報はない。
関与を否定しているだけでしょうかね。
それもあるだろうが、他にも何か隠しているようだな。
何を隠しているか。
実行犯か、それとも別の何かか。東京でも類似の事件が起こっている以上。
That much was certain, yes. I glanced at Mosky out of the corner of my eye. Something had to be done about him first.
先ほど採取したものを東京で鑑定したいのですが。
Point to Mosky.
ああ、警察庁の柳沼。
I made especially sure to emphasize Yaginuma's rank.
待て、それを認めるわけにはいかない。
Yeah, I figured you wouldn't let that stand.
彼に何らかの容疑がかかって。
何度も事件に遭遇している人物が帰ってきた途端、使用人が殺害された。これだけで十分取り調べの対象になる。
逃亡の不安があるのでしたら警官をつければいい。
Personally, I didn't think we needed to go that far, but I had to placate Inui. Besides, I didn't have to keep an eye on Mosky anymore at this point. But that didn't change the fact he was still quite clearly at the very heart of this case.
兄が
No,
東京に戻るのでしたら。
no. Karen suddenly broke her silence.
いや、
構わないのではありませんか。身元もしっかりしておられるし。
Held up a hand to Inui and explained my justification.
ひながみ家の人間が犯行に関わっている可能性が高いのは承知していますがね。
しかし指紋の採取道具がない。
夕方に来る県警の鑑識はさすがに持っているでしょうから。
Not to mention that they could escort the siblings to the train station at the foot of the mountain. Be perfect.
君は随分と弁が立つな。
おかげさまで警察を辞めさせられましたよ。
The actual reason was far different, though.
上司に睨まれたか？
Sure, let's go with that.
自分のことはどうでもいいんですよ。
I whispered so the siblings couldn't hear me, then beckoned Inui over to a corner of the room.
なんだ？
もし彼を返した後で事件があれば、彼が無実だという証明になる。
事件が起こると考えているの？
You could hear some accusation in his voice.
まさか。しかし他の被疑者への牽制となります。
Otherwise, the killer wouldn't be able to frame it.
警部も彼一人に被疑者を絞っているわけではないの。
Inui turned away and approached the twins.
夕方鑑識が到着後、君らの指紋を採取する。その後こちらの捜査員と共に富山駅から汽車に乗ってもらう。
わかりました。
They both nodded. Though honestly, Mosky seemed a little bewildered. Investigators from Toyama arrived by car around sunset. The police station was far too small, so they used the town hall branch office as their temporary HQ.
いったくよ。よそもんが退去して押しかけてきやがって。
事件があったのですから仕方ありませんよ。
I was outside smoking a cigarette with Saisla Cookie.
まあ仕事納めは昨日だったから、あそこを使われるのは問題ないんだがね。うろちょろされるよりよっぽどいい。
Gee, you think you could be any less subtle with that sarcasm, buddy? Mosky emerged from the branch office just
終
then.
わったか。
まあほぼ犯人扱いでしたけどね。
Mosky wiped his fingertips.
でも俺たちの指紋を取ったところで何もわからないと思いますけどね。
被疑者の指紋を採取したという実績が重要なんだよ。
It was merely a means to pacify the cops.
そんなもんなんですかね。
さて、これからが重要なんだが。
I took a small box out of my coat and gave it to Mosky after Saizo stepped inside.
さっきの土ですか
2種類ある。詳細は中に紙を入れておいたが、東京で柳沼に渡すまで他の人間には触らせるな。
は
あとはこれだな。
I had Mosky the camera film Yuzuru Koroya gave me.
これは
朽木千鶴に返しておいてくれ。朽木病院で落ち合えるよう取り計らっておく。
なんで自分が
前に会ったことあるんだろ
ずいぶん昔のことですよ。ろくに話もした覚えはありませんし。
う。お前が朽木病院で世話になっていたんだから。
はあ。
Mosky reluctantly placed the items in his bag. That was everything I had for him. Am I forgetting
な
anything?
あ、そうだ。お前のじいさんの容体は悪いのか。
ずっと伏せっていると聞いてます。そう長くないとも。
いろいろと話を聞いておきたいが、難しいかもしれないな。
祖母がいたらまず無理でしょうね。
So in other words, I've got to get to him while Madoka Hinagami's away, huh?
無茶なこと考えてますよね。
無茶なんかじゃねえよ。
Save for the part where I could be charged with trespassing if I screwed up anyway.
そうだ。時坂さんに確認してほしいことがあるんですが。
The location of Satsuki's
なんだ
limbs?
前に話しましたよね。俺がここから逃げた時、
ああ、埋めたんだろ。
左ヒンナの奥に炭焼き小屋があるんです。
掘り返せばいいのか？
わかりません。本当に埋めたのかも。土蔵の地下がなくなっていて、
動けるのが俺一人では難しいかもしれんが。
Karen Hinagami exited the branch office at that exact moment.
お待たせしました、兄様。
ああ、
今から急げば富山駅から出る最終列車に間に合うそうです。
東京上野駅に着くのは
夕方くらいだとおっしゃっていました。長岡駅で乗り換えなくてはいけないそうで、その分時間がかかるそうです。
I'll have to tell Yaginuma to pick them up. He'd probably bitch and moan about being made a gopher, but Masaki was the one who'd have to put up with it, so whatever. It was right then that a man, presumably an investigator, emerged from the branch office.
あの方が送ってくださるそうです。
Karen picked up her bag, a rather large one that suggested she had initially planned on staying for a good while longer.
俺が持つよ。
However, Masaki took it for her instead.
ありがとうございます、兄様。
じゃあ、自分は行きますから。
ああ、頼んだぞ。
And with that, Masaki and Karen got into the police car. Okay, now that that's settled, police began examining the crime scene. Much as I wanted to participate, they wouldn't let that kind of thing slide here, unlike Tokyo. But, well, that was just the way it worked. Nothing I could do about that. Nothing but be patient and wait until they filled me in on their findings anyway. It was then I noticed a uniformed officer trekking across the snow-laden roads. Clear wasn't an investigator. What's more, he had a woman in tow. Close look revealed them to be Officer Takayama and Mariko Hinagami.
だから捜査員の方がもう一度お話を聞かせてほしいとおっしゃって。
何もお話しすることはないと言っているでしょう。
そこなんとかお願いしますよ。
Poor bastard was probably stuck between the settlement's leaders and his police superiors. The two passed by me and entered the town hall. I'll be damned. Lady Luck's just blessed me with perfect opportunities today, isn't she? Determined not to let the chance slip by, I ran down the way they'd come. After all, I had some questions of my own for him.